This episode of the Towing Life podcast is sponsored by Herb's Towing and Recovery. With over 65 years of experience, Herb's Towing is your go-to service provider for both the 401 and 417 highways. Fully plated and insured for Quebec and the United States, Herb's Towing should be your main contact for any cross-border trips. Some companies in Ontario don't want the headache of cross-border permits. Let Herb's Towing give you some peace of mind. With 2 convenient locations near the Quebec and US border, Herb's Towing will pick up or finish off any cross-border runs you have. Visit them at herbstowing.ca, that's Herbs towing.ca for more information.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my friend, former co-worker, the one chain wonder himself, Mr. PlainGuy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Going on, G? Going on today?
Oh, well, I woke up screaming again, so another day, another dollar.
You woke up screaming, no less.
Yeah, it's, you know what they say, it's someone's dream and someone's nightmare. Yeah, I woke up screaming.
You're having a lot of nightmares these days. You are having a lot of nightmares. Before we get into anything today, guys, I want to mention to you a couple new things going on. We do have the website now. So if you haven't already, be sure to check out www.towinglife.ca. You will find a contact form there where you can reach us. You'll find all the episodes. You'll find a picture gallery we've put up. We're still working on adding some new things, but everything that we put up will go to the website as well. You can find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Any questions, concerns, comments we'll be sure to try and get to them as soon as we can on the show. That is part of what we are doing today. We want to get in some, G, you can correct me, I think it's some video or some comments from YouTube.
Yeah, also, speaking of YouTube, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment down below if you haven't already. It's a good way to get a hold of us there. So we got a comment from Kolb73 Gaming on YouTube here. He told us that we had a good video, so kudos to you. Thank you for keeping the positivity going. And he also wants to know what our everyday calls and what our oddest calls are. So the good and the bad, and how it just affects us like on our day-to-day. So I think we're going to touch on a couple more funny calls than just some good calls, because any call is a good call if you're making money.
Cole, my day-to-day now, boring. You don't want to hear about my day-to-day. What I'll do is I'll tell you about my heyday. I do a lot more roadside now, a lot less recovery work in that. I do miss it. God, it was good. You know, the stories we have, we'll share a couple of them, but at the same time, you know, working those wrecks, working those everything normally comes with the late night calls, the, you know, the weird hours when you start doing police work.
Yeah, the 3 a.m. police calls for a car upside down and a ditch on the other side of a fence. And oh yeah, those are great calls.
Absolutely, absolutely. Those are fun, except they're at 3 a.m. I will be the first guy to admit it. I have become soft in my towing career. And I am trying to be the closest thing to an 8 to 5 tower I can be. It's not quite working. But I feel like I get a little closer every day. So I got no problem starting off with that. Funny stories that we did. There was one, and I remember this one distinctly. We got a car. I get a call from my dispatcher. I don't know if it was my supervisor or my owner. Somebody gives me a call and says, I got a call for you. And man, it's 5 a.m. I'm laying next to my girlfriend. I'm like, I don't want to get up. And then they beep again and they go, it's a car in the river. I mean, I have never been up so fast in my life. I'm stoked. It was, I want to say it was about September, so it was cold. And so this car was in the St. Lawrence River. I pull up on scene. We've got the owner, we've got my supervisor, and we've got myself. The lady that was driving the car is sitting off to the side. She's, in another vehicle. She's set up there. We're trying to get her car out. So the story goes this. The lady delivers the newspapers in the middle of the night, or those ad bags, or whatever they are. So she's driving on the wrong side of the road, putting them into the mailbox. Well, lo and behold, the car stalls while she's in the middle of the road. She's an older lady, so she gets out and she goes, well, I can't leave the car here. There's a blind curve over there. I got to move it. So she puts it in neutral and she starts pushing. The problem was she did not account for once that vehicle started rolling, it was not going to stop.
And I'm assuming she was pushing from the rear of the car instead of by the driver's door.
No, she probably would have been pushing from the front, pushing it backwards. So even worse, to get back around to get into the vehicle, I would guess. Obviously, I wasn't there for her while she was pushing it. I was there to clean up the mess. So this Ford Escape, or Mazda Tribute, whatever it was, same thing, was down off of the highway, down a rock embankment, and in the St. Lawrence River. So we're looking at it. I'm excited. We get there, and I look around, and I go, all right, who's going swimming? Realizing that I just asked my direct supervisor and my owner that. Well, guess who's low man on the totem pole?
That was the dumb question of the day.
Terrible question. They just looked at me blank. Like, are you actually asking that? Like, no, it's you. Like, you.
That's why we called you out here, asshole.
Yeah. It's the only reason you're here is because we needed somebody with less seniority than you. So, all right. I always kept a spare go bag in my truck. It was for moments like these. So I remember we were going to back a flatbed down the embankment up to the rock cut. We were going to pretty much dip the bed into the water. This vehicle was give or take up to its mirrors in water. So good, it's deep enough water. And then we were going to use a wrecker to pull the flatbed up the embankment in case it got stuck because it was, it was no longer on the roadway. So I look around and I go, all right, I go down to my skivvies. The only thing I had on was my boxers and my socks. Because those sharp rocks, I was not going out there bare feet.
It's not very safe. Where's your high vis, man?
Yeah.
Did you have a high vis G-string on that day?
Just in case the school of fish hit me. But yeah, no, it was, so I get down to my boxers and I still remember looking over and the customer who is on scene still in another vehicle, I don't know if it was a friend's vehicle, is just giving me the stink eye. And now I'm pretty sure I had a clean set of underwear on that day. So I don't think that was the reason, but she was almost insulted as if I would be standing in the road in my boxers. And I remember thinking in my head, I'm like this because of you. Like, this is to help you. Don't judge me. Don't body shame me. I am here to help you. Down the embankment we go with my synthetic rope winch. Those were really nice, especially in water. It was great. And I mean, blind hooking. I don't care if I grab a tie rod. I'm not going head underwater. It is September in Ontario in the St. Lawrence River. It is not warm.
Yeah, fuck that.
So anyways, blind reaching underneath, finally get it to hook on something on both sides. I think it was the A-arms. I drove bed quite a bit at the time, so I was pretty good at guessing an A-arm from a tie rod or an axle. And I remember then he goes to me, he shouts to me from the bank. He goes, all right, hop inside. What do you mean hop inside? We got to put it in neutral. Ah, son of a bitch. So there I went. Went around to the driver's side, opened the door up, crawled inside, put it in neutral. I no sooner put it in neutral, they go, okay, close the door. I'm like, I'm still in it. They go, that's the point. And I literally rode this son of a bitch. Up, 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 up. And I remember I got out of the water and I'm sitting on the back of this flatbed. And I'm going, if this line lets go right now, this is going to be a terrible ride straight back into the water. Like, we're not going to hit, it's not going to hurt. But we were going right back into the water. And yeah, so we got it on the bed. We pulled it up. I rode it all the way up to the top. Got out of the vehicle. I remember soaking wet. Went to my boss, here, hold this. And he held a, God knows, a tarp or something. We had a flag. Took the wet boxers off, went into my gym bag, had a fresh pair, got redressed, and away we went. The only condition I had is before or after I went to the pound to unload the vehicle, is I was going home to take a shower, because although I had fresh clothes with me, I smelled like river. And it was, again, the river in September. You just wanted a warm shower, and you know, what a way to start your day at 5 a.m. Go swimming.
I don't have any stories quite that extravagant lined up, but I've got a couple of decent ones. I had a winch out the one day, and it was for a roadside. And I have this thing, it was in the winter. If I can't see the car in the laneway that I'm going to be backing into, I get out and I walk. Because I've had that bite me in the ass before. You back down the laneway and then you realize, oh fuck, I should have drove in. So
yeah,
I
that's a good policy to have. If you can't see it, maybe take a look first.
Yeah. So I walk up, and it's a S-bend with trees on either side and a fence. And I crest the one bend, and I see that this brand new BMW slid off the driveway to the left side, down a little ditch, and it's touching a barbed wire fence. And it wedged itself in between a tree in the front and a tree at the back. And I looked at this car, and there was not a single mark on it.
So, like,
now,
it's wedged front to back between two trees.
Yeah, so it had like half an inch on the front and about an inch at the rear. So it perfectly parallel parked itself, if you will, in between two trees and up against the fence on the driver's door of the car. And since there was no mark on the car, I didn't want to be the dick to put a mark on it. So I had to get creative here, because it was still half on the driveway. I couldn't get around it. And I had a single line winch on my tow truck. And I'm talking to the guy, and I was like, this is a little complicating. So I backed the truck up, and I'm a very honest guy, if you haven't figured that out yet. And I go to the customer and I say, I've never done this before, but I've seen it done before, and I think I can recreate it. So I put a snatch block at the bottom of the tree, and there was no tree exactly opposite the car. So I had to go forwards and then come back on like a 45-degree angle, I guess.
Yeah.
And having a single line tow truck, it's now okay if I grab onto the rims and I need to work out my chain length to be able to pull this car perfectly sideways. And just the tiniest bit I have to forward to like get it off the fence. So I get everything all set up, and I get the winch line tight, and I just slowly start pulling. And sure as shit, even though I'm pulling forward, just the way the car was sitting, it like slid perfectly sideways right off the fence and like came perfectly into the driveway, because I told the guy to like leave it in park, put the e-brake on.
Yeah, we don't want it to roll front or back. We want that full slide.
I wanted it to skate perfectly sideways.
Yeah.
And I pulled it over, and he was like, you made that look easy. I was like, yeah, well, you got to learn somehow. And those are the best calls I like, because it's not a one-time thing like your car in the river. Like, you'll probably get one or more cars in the river, but a story like that, you'll run into that kind of things if you're in this industry long enough all the time.
Yeah.
And that happened when I was still fairly green. I think that was the first winter I was towing, so it was a very good learning experience for me. There was no damages done, and it made me more confident behind the wheel, and like, yeah, I'm a tow truck operator, not just a steering wheel holder.
That you are today. No.
Yeah. 9 to 5 tow truck driver, if you will.
No, you know what? Those, that's like those lucky calls. I want to call them luck. They're not luck. There's some skill involved, you know. You roll the car over, it lands perfectly. You keep winching. Instead of readjusting your chain, it just catches.
Lines up perfectly on your wheel lift or your bed.
Exactly. Those beauty calls, right? When you can pull
the
one
ones
off.
that give you a stiffy just because it just came out so perfectly.
Yeah, I've had those, right? You flip it, and you know how normally you flip it, and then you readjust your chain. And I've had it, I flip it, and I go, for fucking shits and giggles, I'm just going to keep winching. And I keep winching, and this thing just walks up the ditch beautifully. Like, I mean, I had to move my truck over maybe a foot because I ran out of winch line at the end. But it's like one shot, hook, roll out of the ditch behind the truck. You're hooking up, you're gone. Those are great. But it's funny that you mentioned that you don't get to go swimming very often, because, well, that's my other story. I went swimming again. And this time, I had a rookie with me, and I was the bigger man and went swimming. This call, I kind of felt bad for it. If this customer is listening today, I still don't believe I overcharged you. But God, it was a good story. So what happened was we got a call. I got a call from another driver. He was down at a boat launch and a guy had backed his boat trailer, no boat on it at the time, off of the launch, and it couldn't get his truck to come back up. He couldn't get the trailer to come back up. So our guy showed up. He was fairly new at the time, but he showed up and he put his winch on the truck, started winching on the front of it was like a Sequoia, some sort of Toyota SUV, maybe a Honda Pilot. I don't remember. It was an SUV. And he's pulling it and he calls me and he says, I can't get this truck to come forward. I'm lifting the front end of my tow truck in the air. And I was like, man, you're hooked on something. You need to look into that because you are actually hooked on something. There's no reason you can't pull this thing up a boat launch. So he looks and he goes, oh, the axles, the way the tires were just so small or whatever it was. They were hung up underneath. They couldn't roll up over this concrete pad. So he's like, I'm going to need a second truck. We're going to have to lift the trailer up and pull it forward. Because first he says, what about if I lift it up and I let the guy drive forward? And I said, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Because I'm not going to lift this guy's trailer and trust him, who's already backed his fucking truck 30 feet farther than he needed to pull forward at the right pace while I've got my truck at a 90, boom up, winch line up, and this guy's going to pull forward with me hooked to him. Not a fucking chance in hell. So we tell this guy we're going to send a second truck. We're going to lift it with one truck, winch it out with the other. Cool. Show up on scene. I go, all right, well, we got to hook the rigging up. The customer goes, you want me to do it? Not a chance in hell. Sir, this is what you pay for. What is this going to cost? Double what the first truck told you because there's two of us now and I'm going swimming. And anyway, so I decide I want to make sure it's done right. The guy I was training was fairly new at the time. I want to say within a month or two. So it's, again, same thing. Well, I get in the water and I get to this boat trailer, this pontoon boat trailer. I'm hooking up. And don't I realize I can lift the trailer because it's weightless. The trailer doesn't weigh fuck all. It's just stuck on.
And it's in water. So.
And it's in water, yeah. So, in theory, did I need the second truck? No. At the same time, it wasn't the safest idea because I would have to lift while he's winching slippery rocks. You know what? The second truck was there. The customer already agreed to pay the second truck. I literally lifted it with the winch line, but I mean,
that was pulled on the cable and
it was all for show. It was all for show. So the customer, I was already in the water. I was already rigging. We had already agreed to the charge. It was safer to do it that way. And at the end of the day, I'm going to put safety ahead of the other thing, right? So
I've had a couple of calls like that, and I think I was actually at fault for one of them where you're there and you assess the situation, and whether it's just a situation you've never encountered before, and you say, I need a second truck. So you get a second truck out there and an extra set of eyes on it, and they're saying it could have easily been done with one truck, but you throw the second truck on there just because it's there, and two trucks, two operators can make it a lot safer in that situation.
That's
and
a problem,
if the customer
though, right?
already agreed to pay it, why not?
That's a problem, though, just because the guys are purposely, taking advantage of that system.
Yeah.
Right? That's the problem. I've done it too, 100%, where I legitimately thought I needed a second truck. Second truck goes up or shows up. You've been kind of rocking ideas in your head. You come up with something that maybe I can get it out without the second one. You still use it anyways. You got to pay the guy's time out there. It's just a crapshoot. If you're just intentionally, every time you hear car in the ditch sending two trucks, you're just an asshole.
I think I was at fault for a few of them because the one company that we worked at together, we got this truck that had twin winch lines on it, which I just thought was the bee's knees. But here I am with a single winch line thinking, oh, well, if I had a double winch line, I could do this and do that. And I never run a truck with two winches at the time. So I'd be like, oh, well, this truck could easily be done with two winches. Hey, PlainGuy, do you want to come and use your dual winches to help me out? And I learned fairly quickly, at least I hope fairly quickly, you could do almost everything with a single winch line.
I went from the dual to the single, and honestly, the dual is nice. You have your moments where it's like, God, that came in handy. And, but you can do most of it with a single, right? it's just about, knowing how to rig, running lines a little bit differently. Sometimes with a single, it's more work. That I'll admit. Just because if you are trying to do that, like that sideways pull you were trying to do, with the, you know what I mean? If you want to get really technical, you can one side, other side, one side, other side, keep moving a sister chain around to change your angle, pull. But with a twin line, you just hook up 2 lines once and bam, you're done until it's out. But it definitely can be done. And that's the thing that I think, going from a twin line back to a single line, I really remembered where I was like, I got that laziness. I'm like, oh man, I could do this with the twin line. And then I'm like, no, I can do it with a single. Just work a little bit more for it, right? Like, the bastard's coming out. I'm not calling somebody for it. It's coming out.
So you can impress people when something just pops out like that. But I've impressed people when I had a jet ski. It blew a bearing on its trailer, and the guy said, oh, I need a flatbed for the little trailer or whatever, and both our flatbeds at the time were out of town, and the flatbed was going to be like 2 hours. So I said to my dispatcher, just send it to me. I've got a plan. Got an idea. I know what I'm doing.
Oh boy.
So she sends it to me, and I go out, and I get there, and Buddy's like, well, how are you going to do this? I was like, well, I don't actually have a trailer hitch on my tow truck, so you're going to see. Now, if I had a trailer hitch, I could have thrown dollies underneath it and away it went. But I didn't, so I had to get creative. I put a axle strap around the tongue, and where there's that V in the tongue to like keep the tongue off the ground.
Oh, yeah,
so I put
the little flat piece of metal right by that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I winched
like
that up, and I got it up over top of the tailboard of my tow truck, and I pushed the whole trailer forward with my wheel lift extended, grabbed the back wheels, and as I tilted and lift the wheel lift up, I raised the boom all the way up, and I got it to where it was pretty much sitting level on the flat or on the wrecker. And I set the tongue back down, and I did my normal safety chains, and I threw an extra strap around the wheel lift and the actual axle of the trailer just to be on the safe side. It's fairly light. I don't want it bouncing, and safety chains are there in case something comes out.
Yeah.
But, just I always like to err on the side of caution. And then I did 2 straps off the actual frame of the trailer down to, I think, my D-rings on the back of the wrecker. And then 1 over the tongue. And I actually posted that on one of the towing groups that I was a part of, and I got so much flack for it. So much flack. But the problem was they thought, oh, it was just a flat tire or something, not that the whole bearing was gone out of it. And,
right, so what was the flack, even if it was a flat tire, that you didn't just change the tire?
Well, no, it was, why am I towing it like that? Because it looks funny going down the road. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it looks hilarious. If I can find a picture, I'll put a picture down here somewhere, or somewhere here. Probably cover up his ugly mug. And so it was cool, and it was great, and I got the job done in a timely, safe manner. It got to the point on that Facebook thread where my manager and the owner of my company got in there backing me, which kind of felt nice. And just showing that there's more than one way to get things done. And that also helped my pride a little bit. I think my balls grew a little bit that day just because, doing things that are out of the ordinary. I've done quite a few calls like that since, like a sled trailer. I was able to get that up on there. I did a pop-up tent trailer like that. And yeah, you think out of the bun when you got to get stuff
out
done.
Of the bun.
Yeah, I think that was an old Taco Bell reference in the early 2000s. And also, other good calls is just where you get to go, right? I had a call the one night. It was going out to Fort Erie, and I brought the girlfriend along with me, and we did a nice big long run out to Fort Erie. And I was like, you know what? It's like 10 o'clock at night. Let's just swing by Niagara Falls. I'd never been to Niagara Falls. And we go down Niagara Falls, and we take the main road down the falls, and aren't they shooting off fireworks? So I pull over on the side of the road, and we watch the fireworks show for 5 or 7 minutes.
She thinks you're proposing to her.
Some of the best dates will be in the tow truck. And so we do a lap around, and I remember pulling over on the side of the road, and she was like, we're in a towaway zone. I was like, who's going to tow us? We're in a tow truck, and we're sitting in it. Calm down. And it was just a great time. And it's moments like that that really make you appreciate the type of job that we have. Right? It's just those feel good calls, right?
Yep. Yeah, we get that. My wife and I, before we were married, we did a lot more riding in the truck together. You know, it was my first date was in a tow truck, my engagement was in a tow truck, and my wedding day was in a tow truck. I remember that. That is a true story all the way around. But it, you know, those were the fun rides that you got to go, the places you got to find, people that you got to meet, the stuff like that. It, you know, it is what makes our job fun. There's no doubt about it. Because, listen, with all the shit we put up with on a daily basis, if there wasn't something that made it fun, we already have a hard time finding operators for the industry and keeping guys in the industry. Imagine if it was all the shit with none of the fun. I mean,
I've got a couple of bad calls, and the only reason why I call them bad calls is because I had to work like a dog, and I probably didn't get paid enough for them. And the one call here, it was Christmas Day, and it was the first year I was towing. Once again, I was still fairly green. I had a single line 1-ton truck. It was extended cab with a 6-liter under the hood. And I get this call for a winch out in a guy's driveway. And I get there, and it's a 1-ton Chev, so pretty much my twin. But my twin put on a few extra pounds. It had a flatbed on the back with 1,000-pound stone on it, and it was down the ditch sideways. Once again, if I find a picture, I'll put it up here somewhere. And a V-blade stuck up against the fence. And I was like, oh, I might need a bigger truck for this. But you know what? I'll give it a shot, right? I'm here.
It's Christmas Day. You better not have called me.
Yeah, you were off.
Perfect.
I think.
Perfect.
And I had these wheel spades that go underneath your back tires and actually had a chain that ran up onto your safety chain slot. Which, if you like those, great. I love them. But I know some people really don't like them.
I don't think you were supposed to put the chains to the safety chain slot. Didn't they have grab hooks on them?
No, mine did not have grab hooks.
Okay, so then yours were supposed to go there. Because a lot of the ones I remember we had the grab hooks. You would go around the D-ring.
Oh,
but
okay.
If they did not, yeah, then you'd latch it in, because I feel like it would be a weird angle for these. If anyone's wondering, they're, you know what I mean? What do they call them? Blocks, like, but there's an actual word for it.
Yeah, they had teeth on the bottom and everything.
They had teeth on it. You put the back tires up on it. You guys know Scotch blocks. If you guys have ran anywhere in snow or ice, you've probably used them at one point or another. Okay,
they're
sorry.
They're one of the best inventions out there. So I double line my winch up and I go off, I think, the D-ring up the back of the flatbed or whatever. And I get the guy to turn the steering wheel all the way to the right, like towards the ditch, so I can crab walk it out. And the next door neighbor's got his video camera out, which I wish to this day I had the video of this, because it would have been hilarious. And I'm winching and I'm winching, and I feel the truck move a little bit, but it won't move that much because I got these blocks or Scotch blocks in there.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and I see the truck starting to move. And I look back, and I see the front end of my truck, the bottom of the tire's at my eye level. And I'm 6 foot tall. And I'm like, oh, oh, fuck. But as soon as it got to that point, I think I went like another inch on the wire rope, and the truck popped. And it slid out, and it slid out at the perfect speed, and the front end of my truck just came down nice and gently. I was like, that could have ended badly. And to this day, knock on wood, still haven't snapped a winch cable while winching something out, so it couldn't have been that hard of a pull, even though it sure hell seemed like it. And the only reason why I call that a bad call is because
I was waiting for the bad call.
It could have ended really, really badly, because I just didn't know or wasn't paying that close attention. And I don't think a front end of a truck should be sitting that high up in the air while you're winching to something. If I can walk underneath my truck and do a fucking oil change and it's done on a hoist, recipe for disaster right there.
That's not a bad call. That's a dangerous call. I've definitely put my front end in the air. Not quite that high. But I've definitely put my front end up in the air. I've been racking my brain this whole time trying to figure out, I know I've had a million bad calls. I can't think of a goddamn one. I cannot think of a goddamn one. I'll tell you a bad night, and it was a bad night for my wife. I loved it. We had 2 divisions at the towing company I was at, and I went up to the other division that night. There was a guy short. They asked me to go up and cover for the area because they had a couple things going on. They had a fair going on. It was like a Saturday night. It was expected to be busy, and that guy was either gone out of town or off for the night. I can't remember. So, no problem. They don't really tell me how busy it's supposed to be. They tell me, it's pretty quiet. Why don't you head up there, have some dinner on us, and then see what's going on. So I load up my wife. We go up. We get up there. We have dinner. Great night. All of a sudden, a call comes in. Roll over on the highway. All right, let's go. Load her in the truck. We go. We do the rollover on the highway. We come back. Okay. We got the fairgrounds. It's pouring rain this night. So it's not a great night to be out, period. But we get a call from the fairgrounds. They've got a beer fest going on. The grounds are flooded and muddy. Can you send a truck down? Well, how bad are the grounds? Well, they're pretty bad. Okay. So I do not recommend this, and for the sake of this story, we will not name any company names. I take the flatbed. My wife follows behind me in my wrecker. Because we're going to bring both trucks to the fairgrounds. So A, if one gets stuck, we can pull the other one out because nobody else is around. And 2, if we have to leave for something else, we have another truck ready to go. So she's only driving it to scene. She had to go through the construction on an overpass of a highway, and it was like the narrow lanes, and she had never driven anything bigger than a Nissan Versa. I remember she told me when she got there, she goes, that was the most terrifying thing I ever did in my life. Drove a 1-ton through a construction zone. So anyways, we get there, we start pulling cars out. It is a mud shit show. Cops call, roll over on the highway. Park the one truck, hop in the wrecker, or whatever it is, or hop in the bed, I guess. We use the wrecker to do the winching. Pull out to the highway, do a rollover, bring it back. Got to go back to the fairgrounds, get it. All right. We have been there all night. Call the boss up, head back home. Cool. We're heading back home. It's probably like 3 in the morning at this point. Remember, we went for dinner and hang out for a little bit. It's 3 in the morning. And we're driving back, and I had the scanner. And, it wasn't, in that area, it wasn't chasing. There was no companies. It was getting there before you were dispatched. And we're just about to make it back onto a highway to head home, and I hear Carver's deer on the highway. And I remember just looking at my wife, and she goes, why are you looking at me? You know you're going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go. Hit the U-turn back.
That's when you knew she was the one, because you weren't married at the time.
No. I don't think I would get away with that nowadays. But yeah, hit the U-turn back. I think it was like 5 a.m. we got home. And it was a great day for me. Financially, it was a beautiful day. I did something like, well, it was, 2 rollovers and a car deer, plus a bunch of winch outs at the fairgrounds. Like, it was a great night financially and just for stories. She was not so impressed. That was probably one of the few times she stopped running with me in tow trucks because, we did a lot of on-call stuff, and I've got, we've got stories for days. That's the one thing, right? We've always got stories. I've had girls sleeping in tow trucks on the side of the highway for 12 hours while we're doing a tractor trailer recovery.
Wow.
Because, that was the only time I could see them. And I tell them once they get in the truck, I can't guarantee when you are going to get home.
Yeah. When your dinner date turns into a breakfast and lunch date of Tim Hortons delivery on the side of the highway, you're in for a good time.
Yep. Pretty sure we've had that situation too. Oh man. So yeah, those are the fun stories, the awesome stories that we have. Is it Cole? You said it was Cole?
Kolb. Kolb? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry. But
so yeah, thanks for letting us take a stroll down memory lane on our great stories. Like I said, I don't have as many of them lately. I will try and think of some, and we'll definitely bring them to the show.
My day-to-day is I tow ship boxes. That's pretty much what we do. We tow ship boxes day in, day out. It's pretty mundane stuff. Like once you're in it for a day or two, it's just another car, hook it up. Yeah, it's a little bit different, like a broken ball joint here, broken tie rod there, but it's mostly just dodge traffic and get home to see your family. Yeah,
we'd love to tell you it's all TV, what you see on TV and everything else. You know, there is days that are like it. There are some really fun jobs. You'll never hear, you know, stories of, you know, oh, I hooked up a Honda Civic today, G. Front wheel drive Honda Civic, towed it to the dealership. You won't hear those stories.
Did
those
it even
stories
have the transport slots in it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh.
It was the new one that only the R hooks fit in.
Oh, that's disappointing.
You won't hear those kind of stories because we all have them and they're boring. You will hear, like I said, going swimming in rivers. G doing a reverse parallel park on a BMW in a driveway. That's what we'll refer to that. G's reverse parallel parking.
I had a car. It was a couple months back. It came from a stop sign, and it got up to about, I want to say 80 kilometers an hour in a very short amount of time. And the car drifted from its lane over, down into the ditch, through 8 small trees about, I don't know, that size. If you're listening to this, I feel bad for you.
It's like a baseball.
Yeah, baseball size. Smashed through all those. Then it went into a fence, but it didn't go through the fence. It kind of like went over top of the fence. And as it went over the top of the fence, it like T-boned a tree. And it ended up in this hayfield. And there's no front end left to the car. The subframe got ripped out. The one tire that still had the whole hub assembly, I found 150 feet down from the direction it was coming from in the hayfield. I have no idea how it got there. It was going in the completely opposite direction of what the car was going. And when it came to rest in this hayfield, the fence stood back up. And the trees that it went through had vines all in it. So any of you that know kind of what I just laid out knows this is going to be a fun call.
Yeah.
And to top it all off, it is across the street from my pound. When I got to work, I saw the police had the road blocked off, but I didn't see a single car. And I was like, oh, whatever. And as I was pulling out in the tow truck to go get coffee, the cop moved, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm coming in.
and roadside wanted you to do it for $50.
No, this was a police call. They got transported in an ambulance. They both ended up being fine, the 2 occupants in the car.
That's good.
And so I get there and I start winching. I was like, oh, it probably won't be too bad. So I left my truck parked sideways, doing a 90 pull off the side. And then I hit the fence. After this I went back and I grabbed the axe out of my personal truck and I started cutting away some of the vines, thinking, hey, I'll be proactive here. And so then I was like, you know what? I see the tow truck starting to pick up on the one side, and it picked up the one tire a little bit off the ground. My truck rolled back just because, you know how parking pins work. They make one tire spin forwards and one backwards. I was like, I should block the road. The police have the road blocked off anyways. So I got situated, shimmied in sideways into the road, and at least now I could get a nice high pick and get it over top of the fence. And as I'm bringing it over top of the fence, once the front end hit, because the front end was dragging, it grabbed the fence, and now I'm like, oh, now I gotta try to cut this fence. Now I'm down there with my axe, because that's the only thing I have, trying to chop away at this metal fence with my axe. And I finally get it to break free, and I got it out onto the road. And then I had to re-center myself to get it turned sideways onto the road so I can actually hook it up. I was like, I'm going across the street, and thankfully I was able to bring the front end facing my pound, which is literally across the street.
Yeah, so you're not worried about bent rim or whatever to get into the yard. So
I hooked my J-hook onto the one control arm that's left on the passenger side, and I hooked my other J-hook somewhere towards the back of the car, but then it couldn't actually be long enough to short chain it properly, so I just left my winch cable hooked up to it, and I literally just slung it off the boom, and then put axle straps around what was left of the bumper up to the wheel lift. So that was my pivot, because I'm going across the street. And I left the boom up, and I just got it across the street, and then I came back with the flatbed to clean up everything.
Why didn't you just get the flatbed to come get the car if it was across the road?
Because I didn't want to leave the car sitting there, and I can't, once I got the car on the bed, I still need room to put batteries, a tire, bumpers, back bumper, like everything, lights. I had to clean up the farmer's field and dig up some dirt and throw that into the ditch because I can't leave that field contaminated. Then the farmer stopped and he was going on and on about how there's glass in this field. And I told him I can't clean up your whole field. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's
call the ladies' insurance. Good luck to you.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun call from the experience point of view, but it was a pain in the ass. And pushing that tire that was all fucked up with the hub still in it all the way up the field after I just did all the work to get the car out and dropped in the shop, which we have indoor storage over there. So get it all placed nice inside, coming back, cleaned up the ditch. It was tiring. And that was my wake up call. That was before morning coffee.
Yeah.
That was just.
That just puts you in it for a day, right? Because you know that it's like, you're bagged after that. Anyone that knows, man. Picking up debris, and I'm not talking about, fender benders. You pick up a couple pieces of plastic, but when you literally got a yard sale
pick up
in
half
the ditch,
a car and put it somewhere.
Oh yeah, those yard sales in the ditch. We did that. Car T-boned a truck rolled, and I mean, this bed of this truck was packed full of stuff, just spread out on, you know what I mean, a good 100, 200 square foot area. And you're going around picking up everything, and it's clothes, it's whatever the hell they had in their vehicle. You're picking all that up, and then once you get into hubs with axles still attached, full doors, you know what I mean? It's like, hauling that up and down out of ditches. That is where the real work comes out, and that is where I realize that I do not do enough wrecks lately, and I, just hearing myself say it, I wonder if it's as bad that I don't.
We're not in the greatest of shape to begin with, and then when we take a step back from doing that stuff, which is the stuff that keeps us somewhat in shape,
Hey, the hell with you! I went for like a 6.5 kilometer hike today. Okay, I'm in shape. I only took a break like
rounds
once
of
going
shape,
up.
Right? Yeah. Rounds of shape.
It's ironic though because you were talking about. Only having your axe on you. And we went from last week's episode where we're talking with Andrew from Herbs and he's got every tool imaginable.
Yeah.
And then we go to G, who's sitting there banging away with an axe trying to cut a fucking barbed wire fence.
Axe is my go-to tool, to be honest with you.
It's a hammer. It's an axe.
Yeah.
It's got about 2 uses in it, but yeah, fair enough.
A hammer is very useful.
Yeah, I carry one of those adjustable hammers.
Oh, yeah. See, I've got a little mini sludge in my toolbox, and then I normally keep the axe for big things that you need hammer in underneath the back seat.
All right, I got a question for you then, getting into the tools debate, and anyone listening, and guys, chime in. Other than a block of wood, what is your one go-to tool in your truck? Mine's always been a block of wood, but G, I will ask you this. Other than a block of wood, what is your one go-to tool? I swear to God, if you talk about this stupid ball dog again, I'm going to choke you and delete this video. Other than a block of wood, what is your go-to tool that you keep on the truck?
Well, I've already talked about the axe, and an axe is very useful. But I would have to say a long bar. Now, not for just unlocks. My one flatbed's got an extended cab with suicide back doors. So I use that long bar to open up the passenger door and close the passenger door when I've got my passenger sitting in the back seat. That's real handy. Yeah.
That is genius.
Yeah. And if you're ever hauling sea cans, the fork slots, if you ever want to put a chain through there, long bar, push the chain through. Right? Just having a long bar that's long, fairly straight. Hell, the owner of the company, asked me to bring by my long bar to his house because he needed to fish some electrical wire through a wall to wire up a new wall socket. So many uses.
I'm not even answering the fucking question now. I got nothing to beat that. I just literally pulled that question out of my ass to throw at you and stump you, and you came up with the most genius response I have ever heard.
Problem solver. Quick thinker, I guess.
You know what? Because I haven't been taking passengers. I've been very adamant about this. We will not get into it again. But I have the same problem. I have the suicide doors. And if I were to take them, because, they're trying to talk into that stuff about putting them in the back seat, I did not think about that.
And you drive a Ford too, right? So you got the handle in the where the grab handle is.
Yes. Yeah. The
So
squishy.
it's perfect.
The squishy.
You can literally get your long reach in there, twist, and then push at the same time.
Or I could not be a lazy dick and just go walk around and open the door for them, in all fairness. But I do like.
I did one today where I stopped so the guy could get out and go to the bank to pull out cash to pay me, right? So I'm sitting in the truck, still sitting on the side of the road, right? You know, I'm still lazy, but faster, to be honest with you.
No.
And I just normally leave the long bar like wedged in the passenger seat because the passenger seat's now my office, so I keep all my my run sheet and my phone and everything over there because I don't have a center console in that truck. And it just kind of sits sideways right there, and it's a perfect grab. Away you go. And if you show up to do an unlock, it's super quick.
If you have a... That's genius. That is genius. I can't believe I didn't think about that. That really bugs me. I never would have thought of that. I haven't even thought about that passenger thing. I'm still a little baffled. Don't mind me. I'm still a little baffled on that one. I don't know what am I going to say after that? My wedge because shit. My little new stool so I can hang myself. No. Try and pull the Ford locks on the other side with it. No, that's man. We're running out of space with trucks, even with the big cabs now, and especially if you start if you are one of the ones that's accepting passengers. I don't know what I'd do, man. My back seat is laid out so nice when you got a whole back seat.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I didn't think about that. The reaching over that is genius. Suicide doors, definitely not meant for tow trucks.
Also, if your sunglasses slide on the dash or to the passenger side,
I swear to God, if you pull your long bar to reach your sunglasses. Is that distracted driving, Ossifer, when you're sitting there with a long reach on the on a 400 highway trying to grab your sunglasses from across the dash? That's gotta be distracting.
Why are you making that sharp of a corner on the highway to get your sunglasses to go from the driver's side to the passenger side? It's normally putting around through town. You take your sunglasses off to get out of the truck.
I just take the next hard corner the other way and send them back.
Oh, come on. I thought we're all in NASCAR. We only make lefts.
The Towing Life podcast wouldn't be possible without the help of our amazing sponsors.
Herb's Towing should be your go-to contact for all cross-border trips. With 2 convenient locations near the Quebec and U.S. border, Herb's Towing will pick up or finish any cross-border runs. With a large fleet of light and heavy-duty units, they are sure to meet all your towing needs.
So support those that support your favorite podcast and visit them at herbstowing.ca. That's HERBS towing.ca for more information. Just about brings us to the end of today. Gee, we did not cover everything that we wanted to cover. That is the way she goes sometimes. But we've got some interesting stuff coming up on the next episode. We can definitely roll it into there. We are going to discuss the dark side of towing.
Some of the worst calls that we've had.
And the dark side of towing. There's a little secret that we all pretend that we don't have, that we actually all have a story that we can relate to. So we will get into that on next week's episode. Drops on Tuesday, as they always do.
Make sure you're subscribed or following us on all social media so you are made aware when that video goes live or the podcast goes live on any streaming platform where you get your podcasts. You can find us there.
Also, not to mention, that's where you'll find the contest. When this episode airs, we just got rid of 2 t-shirts. We will be announcing the winner the same day that this episode comes out. Maybe we can integrate it into the episode. We will see. If not, follow us on the social media. Find a way to get some gear. You can visit the website, towinglife.ca. Like I said, on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. Or you can email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Guys, or comment on the YouTube. As G said, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to leave a review. Any positive input or feedback you can give back helps push us even farther up the podcast charts. I don't think we're on charts, but it pushes us up. It helps Facebook push us out more. And it helps us continue to bring you guys amazing content. So do not forget to check that out. New website is
everywhere to make it easy for you to get a hold of us. So you might as well just take advantage of our work that we put in to make it so easily accessible for you.
There's a lot of work that went into making this easily accessible.
Yeah, thanks to that guy right there.
You're pointing the wrong way.
I'm pointing the right way on my screen, so fuck you.
But no,
Anyways,
guys, we love bringing you guys content. We love doing it. So, G, take us out.
From myself and PlainGuy there, we hope that you have a good day and you're safe out there, because we want you to be here next time. And with that said, we'll see you later.